Brina, this is the seventh arc of Black Butler. What have you liked most about really getting to see CL's growth up to this point?
Well, I think this arc is so unique in the fact that he actually has to deal with other kids. He's never had to do that before. We've never seen him do that before. Um, and there's something about it that's so humanizing, and seeing him struggle with school politics and, cliques and all that kind of stuff. I don't know, it's just really fun to play and really fun to witness, to see him get so flustered and see him have such a hard time with what he thought would be just a breeze, like, oh, these are stupid children, like I could totally just, you know totally just come in and do this so easily, figure everything out so easily, but turns out school's hard. And it's kind of traumatizing for everyone, even smart kids like CL. But yeah, so I love his discombobulation. It's very fun.
Y- Yeah, it's such a fun direction for the show to head in. And Michael, we've gotten to see a lot of different cases throughout Black Butler's run. And last time was like the Titanic with zombies. It's gotten wild at points. So what about the public school arc really stands out for you to really differentiate it from what came prior?
Well, I have to agree 100% with what Brita said about getting to see CL in this completely, compared to every other arc, this totally mundane, everyday situation where it's like, oh, he's just going to school, and how, oh, that's nothing. Like, like it's or to say like, oh yeah, a dark, sinister circus and murder and a, a ship full of zombies is nothing compared to going to school, which is true.
Exactly.
um it's really fun to watch CL, this otherwise very capable, self-assured young man who is also very cynical, have to deal with, the endless bureaucracy and the infighting and all the things that I think it makes the show very relatable, because I think every audience member has been to school and can relate to what it's like having to deal with that reality. What I love it from the perspective of an actor is getting to, I love that it's changed, CL and Sebastian's dynamic quite a bit, because now Sebastian has, he's going deep cover as a teacher, so he's sort of taking a more ancillary role, but also one that allows him to be just a little bit sarcastic. A little bit barbed, with CL in a way that could before, which I think is really funny. It's like they're more like old friends now that are like, yeah, it's becoming, they almost have a Golden Girls vibe.
Such a good way to
just
put
just
it.
a little bit where they're like, "Oh, nice done. Oh yes, I like. Well done, well done. Nice." And
Little
it's just kind
catty
of fun to see
remarks
them.
here and
It's kind
there.
of yeah, it's kind of fun to see them slip into that level of comfort with each other, which I think is really delightful.
Yeah, I can totally see that. That's a great comparison. And Brina, I like that we're seeing CL immediately like run into these social faux pas, like walking on the grass. And there's also an interesting dynamic because, he's an Earl. He's come from high society, and now he starts off here, at the bottom for once, and he's having to navigate this very social and cliquey nature. What do you like most about him just being put in this very different position where he's not operating from a position of power?
I love how off guard it makes him. Like, just from what I see, it's like, he goes in, he didn't read the rule book, like, because the CL that I know from the previous arcs, he's always so prepared. He knows the ins and outs of every single thing. He's just very well studied on whomever he's dealing with. But this time he went into it a little too cocky. And he's like, oh yeah, no, I haven't read the rule book. And I'm just like, who are you? This is wild. Like, he just kind of is sort of winging it in a way that I'm not used to seeing him do, and then kind of flailing a little bit, which is honestly kind of satisfying. Like how Michael said, we're used to seeing him with these really high stakes situations, just epic, mysteries and everything, and yet now we're just at school, and it seems to be one of the hardest ones for him. At least for my estimation, it just looks like he's struggling so much.
Yeah, it's a great change of pace, and also I don't know how you're gonna top, zombies on the Titanic. Although,
Right,
I'm
yeah.
sure the series will find a way. But Michael, the Black Butler's production run's been very interesting. There's always been breaks, but there's like almost 7 years between the movie and this. What's
Mhm.
most satisfying about just getting to voice the character again, continuing that story? And is there ever any challenge getting back into the character when, you're off 7 years? I'm sure you're still doing being asked by fans to do the voice and such. So.
Yeah, it's not a huge challenge finding the physical voice because he lives very close to my own. It's just me with a British accent, which I already sound like I'm struggling to hide one every day of
Yeah,
my
as
life.
someone who has directed
Um,
Michael before in other shows, the most common direction he would get from me would be like, "Can you make it less British? You're not British."
it's true. um so the physical voice is not terribly hard to find, and I Sebastian, that voice comes up in my daily life all the time, just when I'm just having fun. I might use it to make a joke, or I might use it when I'm literally serving tea or something, just to do it. um because it's a fun voice. It's a really fun voice. It's very comfortable. Thank God he doesn't scream or it's not hard on the voice at all, so it's just a pleasure to do. I just like how it feels. uh, so the voice is hard to find, but it's always a struggle to come back to something after so long, because you're like, oh, I hope it's still good. I hope it's still, I hope I can still bring, I hope what I'm capable of bringing to the role is still relevant. I hope that uh that the fans have grown with it and aren't tired of it yet, and they certainly don't seem to be, which is always nice.
Yeah,
One of the great advantages of getting to come back to a role like this and feeling so supported and enthusiastic is that it feels like the show is being animated now by people who grew up watching it. I don't know if that's the case, but it certainly feels like it. It's certainly, the show feels like a love letter to what the show has always meant to its fans. And that
yeah.
is a lovely, lovely place to come into as a performer, because you feel such enthusiasm for the material coming from all directions. And it's really fun. The challenge is sometimes it makes you a little nervous. You're like, oh, can I equal this now? Because, the fact that it's coming back just reinforces how big it is and how big a responsibility it is to do it
Mhm.
justice. But yeah, thank goodness I stay in practice by just kind of being a pompous quasi Brit.
Oh, that's hilarious. And Brina, building off that, just the time it's taken, and like for a lot of people, they grew up watching this series as a young adult or a teen. Now they're coming back to it. There's such a nostalgia now attached to this series. So, what has been the highlight of the fan reaction of seeing all these people just excited for the return, and then it to be so successful?
I mean, Ciel has always been one of my all-time favorite characters to ever play. And, there are other characters that I adore that haven't been received as well. And so it's a nice surprise, and I feel very lucky to have gotten to voice a character that other people love as much as I do. And just, I mean, what a privilege as an actor to be able
Mm.
to revisit one of your favorite roles after so long. And I felt really lucky to have gotten to do as much as I did, but then getting to come back to it is, it's just really special.
Yeah, and the fans are glad the voices are back too. I've seen so many comments about just how they everybody sounds great. It's so nostalgic. And Michael, this season there's a fun line in episode 5 where both characters simultaneously say like, "We're gonna move the crowd to tears." When you're when you're doing that type of line reading, how is it done? Does the one of you record first and you try to match the
Mm.
cadence? Does that get tricky?
That is exactly how it happens. One of us records first, and then the other gets to match that timing. It's not tricky necessarily. It's one of the skill sets you have as an actor, because that kind of unison cue is pretty frequent. Like, it happens a lot. So you learn, and when you're as familiar with the person you're playing off of as I am with Brina, um, it's not as hard as it may seem. I've said
Yeah.
this a million times, but one of my favorite things about playing Sebastian is that I get to play off of Brina's CL, and because Brina is so good and so like there and present, that I actually get to be very lazy as an actor. Because I know Brina has laid all the groundwork and been amazing. And she's so good that even if she's not, if she hasn't recorded first, and so I'm not literally playing off of her track, the way I sometimes do it. It depends on the scheduling, of course. Sometimes she's already there and I get to play off her, and vice versa. But even when I don't have that opportunity, I'm so familiar with her voice and her approach to the role, and she's so I associate her so strongly with that role that I can hear her in the role even if she doesn't isn't recorded yet, and it's just the animation I'm listening to in a vacuum, um, which is so cool. It's so cool. But yeah, I lines like that are actually really fun because I think Brina and I have worked together so long. We kind of love the chance to imitate each other.
Yo, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
And I dare say we've gotten rather good at it. Brina does a really good impression of me, incidentally, but I'm not going to make you do it because I can't bear to watch it. It's too close to home. But it's a really good impression of me. My impression of Brina is garbage, but I love it.